Let's start the recording. And there it is. And you're live, and in come the attendees. Okay.
Okay, there's 3, 4.
And the live, somebody else already did the live captioning, so that's good.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Let
You're
me
good to go. And I'll
see.
make.
Yeah, hang on for a little bit. Actually, you know what? It'd be great if you could stay on for maybe 10, 15 minutes, or I
Sure.
share some of my screen. Kristen wants to be promoted. How do I do that?
I got it.
Okay, awesome. So we should start.
Yep, you're recording.
Oh, there's Kristen. Hi. So welcome to our meeting. It's 6:37. This is the Arts and Institutions Committee. Thank you for joining us tonight. I don't know if everybody wants to introduce themselves. It's, starting with Mark.
Oh, well, starting with me. Good evening. I'm Mark Tiller. I'm your community district manager.
Stacy.
Oh, I'm Stacy Gergen. I'm a community member of CB2 Arts and Institutions.
Miss Robin.
Yeah, hi, Robin Rothstein, member of the Arts and Institutions Committee and full CB2 member.
And Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Gammy, member of this committee and full board member on CB2.
Kristen.
Hi all, I'm Kristen. I'm a public member of the Arts Committee. Nice to see you all.
Rocio.
I'm Rocio Sanz, and I'm a member of this committee and a member of Community Board, full board.
And Jonathan. Jonathan is maybe he is not on transit. So we can while Mark is here.
I'm sorry, my switch was off. This is Jonathan Slaff, and I'm a public member of the Arts and Institutions Committee.
Hi, Jonathan. So we have just a couple of things. We have the letter of the Metronome, and that we can circle back. One of the things that we wanted to talk about is, we're trying to figure out if we can have a better teaching about the budget aspect at the end of the year. And I talked to Mark about maybe helping us, having somebody in the committee to walk us through it, what it means for our committee, so we can be more involved this year. So Mark already has that in his note. And then one of the many things that we wanted to see if we can explore of how to engage with community with all the information that we get. So we started that list of different arts and institution that we're adding up and to see who we can reach out for guests. So tonight I wanted to just share an exploratory Instagram for us. And then Mark also, I talked to Mark about whether we can integrate that, but in the meantime, this is just a draft of it. Using some of the recent events that we've had coming through CB2 in this committee. Maybe you can share that screen. Let me see. Here it is. So, it was interesting, Robin, that you were saying the name, how to name it. So this is just a quick draft. Let me see, share screen. I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully it won't be all messy. Where is it now? Not whiteboard. Then I can't share it. Is there something that you need to give me permission, Mark?
You should have permission. I think I did that.
For some reason, it's not letting me
If
share
those are
my.
panelists, then you're a co-host, so you should be able to do it. Good night. Thank you.
Okay, one panel is, let me try this way. Share screen. Let me. Share sound, optimize video, nothing shows up. Oh,
Are you clicking on the green button in the bottom in the middle?
yeah,
And okay.
let
Well,
me,
the other thing you can do is email the thing that you're trying to share to me, and then I'll pull it up on my side.
okay, actually, let me see. Let me open it up as in
See
public.
both when you open that middle thing, do you see whiteboard and Google Chrome? Like if you click on the right-hand one instead of the whiteboard, I see both.
I
when
see only whiteboard and everything else is white, like white.
Well, is it up on your computer, the thing you're trying to share?
Yeah, it is. You know what I could do is like, let me open it because I put it in private, the draft.
Oh, that's why.
Maybe, no, but it should show up in the screen. I can open it up as a public thing so that you guys can see it. Let me see if I can do that. Of course, it's like, how do I do that? Edit profile. This is so annoying. For some reason, only in CB2, I can't share my. And switch from, no. Where is this?
Can you screenshot perhaps something, and maybe that'll, at least we can see a shot of what you're trying to describe to us.
Yeah, just email it to me and then I'll pull it up and share my screen.
Well, hold on a second. I'm trying to see if I can privacy and security. Let me see if I can open that up. Okay, let me open that. Change around. Okay. So let me see if I can now share it. All right. So I'll put it in the chat now. So I'll open it up. Zoom. So let's try this.
Hey, Alex. I get your technical report for a second.
Great, yeah, I see it.
Okay, great.
You got a little Instagram page.
Yeah. So naming it was a little hard. You know, we have to check if that works. I checked online, you know, I did a vetting whether it should be CB2 Manhattan because there's several CB2. I was trying to share the screen for some reason I can't, but I shared it.
Oh, it worked for a second. Screens, I see your shared screen now.
You do? No, somebody else is sharing.
That's me.
I see.
That's Mark.
Okay.
So we would have to like go over the name, right? We can't have an ampersand, so that was a version as short as I could do it. You guys can just click up some. This is a really quick thing. Oops. And then we have, I quickly added some of the events that we had, like last week when the space opened, that Kristen inaugurated. There's some video. So that's kind of like a quick thing, and whether we could just put it on our page. That's something that we will walk through with Mark. This is something we can share responsibilities, like, whoever attends a certain event can post it. It'll be great to, when we have guests coming in and we have our video that we could put there as well. So there's a little bit back and forth, and I think we can really very quickly build people that we follow, and back and forth, so yeah, we should talk about from the name all the way down, and then we can coordinate with Mark what is possible.
Well, you've already got this as a standalone Instagram account. CB2, as I understand it, does not have an Instagram account of its own. Although that's something that we're thinking about that we're working on. So once we do create an overall CB2 Instagram account, I believe there's a way to link from one page to another. And that's certainly possible. Whether it's possible to actually integrate them and make them one, I'm not as sure. But it wouldn't really matter. You can toggle back and forth.
Right. And we can change the name, right? So, maybe later on it's just whatever. But that's just a draft. Hey, Carter. How do I get?
Hey guys, sorry to jump on late. That's actually the topic of the next bylaws committee meeting, which is the CB2 communications policies, because one of the things is you can't independently create something for the board. It has to all be done by the board office and under Mark. That's just by virtue of some of the issues that we've had in the past with different things, that we finally wrangled everything into one place so that there's not confusion. But that is the topic of Susan Kent's next meeting, which I think she's rescheduling.
Okay. So, like I said, the draft was in private. I can leave it private and send Susan Kent like the password, and she could just look at basically a wish list, kind of like broad stroke. It could be changed, however, it could be sub under whatever, but that will be one of our approaches to be, like receiving information, sharing it, and interacting and engaging. It's just simple. So that was it. Carter, if you could just if you could click around, whatever. I didn't put
Susan's the one to talk to. She's
Susan Kent
just on all of that. That's sort of the bigger picture, is what's the board's presence outside of our committee meetings.
Okay, so after this meeting, I'll put it private, and I'll follow up with Mark and Susan Kent, so they could just look at this sketch in some ways. And then, I guess in our meeting, we should just feel out how we feel about it. Or we just can have CB2 Susan Kent tell us how it could be. That's fine too.
Susan Kent or the board members?
Or the board members, or whoever, whatever the process is.
Yeah.
And you know what? The other thing is whether we can ask, as it's being developed, whether we can have a standalone until, and have supervision of how that goes, or we have to wait for the entire board to have a social media thing. Yeah, so if people can weigh in on how they feel about it, or for me, I wasn't able to find videos of people that are guesting. I would love to put at least a couple seconds and a link to it, so that it bypasses how long it takes me to find it as well. So Robin and Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, I think an Instagram account, I know there's procedures that need to take place, but I hopefully those will work themselves out quickly. I think an Instagram account makes a ton of sense, because that's where a lot of, I would say younger-ish people spend their time. I know we're trying to get this board, more diversified. I also think it would, make people much more aware of the board. I mean, people who are online, who can, who engage with social media, I think they will become more aware of it and all the sharing possibilities, like you said, and the visual nature. There's so much text involved with community boards. I think people get, a little cross-eyed. I think, having visual support of everything that we do. And I mean, it can only be a good thing. And hopefully this can get up and running more officially soon, because this is this season where we're looking for people to apply, and it would be great to have people aware of the board and the application process via Instagram. I know we have a Twitter account, but I don't think that's been very, and I think we have a LinkedIn account too. I don't think that's also been very active, but I think this could really drum up interest. So
Okay.
I think I'm thumbs up for me.
And Darlene says we, probably have to do TikTok, and like, that'll be the next thing. Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. And I do think that it's a broad demographic that's on Instagram. And I think that it's not a good time to be on Twitter if we don't have an established presence to join Twitter at this time. I just feel like it's an unethical company. So I don't think it aligns with the values of the community board. That's just my 2 cents. Maybe I'm in the minority on that. But I think Instagram is a pretty broad cross section. And I don't think it's just, I think it's a pretty broad range of people from their 20s up to their 70s and 80s. So I think it's a good place to position ourselves, and it's a great way for us to raise visibility that we're here and that we're trying to support artists in the neighborhood. Because I talk to a lot of artists who aren't even aware that a community board would be looking out for their interests. So I think it's great for us to do this, once approved, of course.
Thank you. Susan Gammy?
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a great idea, Ivy. I think to create some connective tissue between, the committee, the public at large, and the community board is a terrific idea. It's probably a little premature to get too granular in our discussion right now because, further upstream at the community board, there's obviously a larger discussion about how these things can work so that we're all, consistent and not kind of going rogue or whatever. But I think the concept is really wonderful. So that's my 2 cents.
As soon as I drafted, I realized like little minute details, like how to name it, like a CB2, what, right? Even that was like something that needs a discussion, how to define Manhattan, because it could go anywhere. But anyway, so Rocio, what do you think?
Well, I'm not much into social media, so I don't really have much of an opinion about that. I mean, I liked seeing the photos that are up on my screen now. But I think this overall has to be a community board decision. I don't know if it's a bylaws thing, but maybe it could be a resolution. How does the full board feel about having this? And I think it's great. I mean, I see all my friends there.
Right. Like
all my little buddies are there.
For example, the last event we had at the opening, that brought up something like a necessity to do something like this, because I talked to so many people I didn't know, and I would like to follow up with them. And that's a way I can like only, not only document it, but then, the tagging back and forth, suddenly that connection is a little strained, like, because, sometimes you forget names and it's just that moment and it's hard to reconnect. So I felt like, wow, that opens up that opportunity, because we did meet a lot of people. Jonathan and Chris, you guys, and Stacy, do you want to weigh in?
The only thing I could say is that in principle, it's a grand idea, and it's in line with what I'm reading about how governments have to democratize themselves. You have to reach down to the to the people every way you can. And that's seems to be what this is, a commendable thing that this is doing, but how to do it, I'm not expert enough in this technology to help with it.
Stacy? Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, totally. And I think your point, Ivy, is the best one. I was in my mind trying to think what our goals would be of having a CB2 Arts Instagram, but I think kind of reaching out to people, making connections and being able to follow up with them. I think it's a really good point.
And Chris?
Yeah, I'm very late because I was at work. So I can tell you from my experience working with social media that it does actually take a surprising amount of work, especially considering how much content you have to generate. And especially if the end goal is to actually just spread the word, then guaranteeing that you have enough followers to justify spreading the word is kind of like a moot point, because there's always this concept that like we don't have enough followers, we're not doing enough, people don't know what's going on. But if the concept is simply, should we have social media, and if it's because you want people to know about stuff, then absolutely all of them are great options. TikTok is probably the hardest, just because it takes so much more content. You have to have like a level of consistency that is like, you can be an anonymous poster on Instagram. If you're just posting pictures of things that are happening, it can be written by anyone. You can have an intern do it. You can have just a fan of CB2 stuff write it. And same thing with Twitter. But sometimes with things like Facebook, and like video platforms, YouTube as well as TikTok, you get into a real like quagmire of consistency, because if your whole point is having that message and having that voice, then a lot of the video-based stuff gets really mucky, because all of a sudden you have 15 different people making a video, and you're sort of like, well, what's the actual message here? If I expected a post from this one person, I'm just spiraling. Like, social media is a diverse and interesting thing, and it is very helpful, especially because a lot of people in my generation were taught the second you graduate from high school, college. For some people, they were taught in middle school, like, this is your brand is online now. You have to be a person online. And having that as part of like a community group is also just extremely helpful. It's even faster than a newsletter. It's a centralized source that is more succinct than a newsletter as well. So it's probably good, but who's going to run it is obviously the bigger, broader question. And then the end goal, I guess. Also, I'm talking out of depth. I heard the last 5 minutes of conversation.
No, I think like that, that's why I wanted Mark to stay a little bit, just not only just to see the sketch. I mean, many times we've talked about how do we get interns and younger people to help us. I mean, I don't foresee that we're going to make this super robust, but I think like if we can have a little more engagement that we have, that puts us in a better place. For me, obviously, the goal with like structural things that I'm learning along the way by just being in this environment. I'm the example. For example, I don't know how to, I wouldn't know how to apply for budget applications. I wouldn't know that Mark Levine has like a loan for small business or whatever, or for artists. Like, it'd be great just for us to be proactive, to just put our little grain, whether our people find us or not. The inauguration was really important. And for example, for people to even know the community board was able to partner up with on the ground and do something that took a long time and an effort. I think that's, when I tell people that, it's just my 4 people and people get very excited, but to have like a place that basically in some ways is what, like a passive information in some ways that we do that would be helpful. But, I also, like I said, I speak in a place where I'm still navigating where to find things. And I think a lot of people are. So we just want one place. So anyways, so thank you, Mark, for staying on for that. And we can, I think we can also be just the sketch point for the community board to talk about this, however, we want to execute it.
Sure.
Ivy, I'll put the details in the chat. The bylaws working group was set to meet on Thursday.
Okay,
Is it
to
long?
discuss this.
that may have been canceled, but
To
so
reschedule, but yeah, there's a draft communications policy which you can review.
Okay,
But the idea is that all social media is run out of the office by Mark.
Okay,
And it's
And
a
the-
larger part of the whole board. Because you don't want to have independent, different things going out in different places for exactly what Chris was talking about is just the overall content. You need to have a larger presence than just, we're trying to bring everybody in.
yeah. The only other thing I'll add to that, and perhaps Chris touched on this, is once you go down the rabbit hole of social media, it's a beast that needs to be fed. The way that you actually engage people is by being relevant to them, not just once a month, but hopefully once a day. And that's a lot of content. Now, there are a lot of committees, so it doesn't all have to be just this one, but that's something to keep in mind.
right.
Who has time for that? Who has time for that?
Yeah, and that I like what Chris has said, like the idea of a newsletter that's faster. We don't have to create more content that we have, right? I mean, we're not selling anything. We're just sharing information and access. And I think, it's fine not to have 1 million. If we could have 20 people on and off, that's fine. Access is really.
May I say something, Ivy?
Yeah.
Doesn't our website, a website potentially does that? It can do that. We post things about meetings. Many other things are posted on our website. So I think maybe this whole idea could be incorporated into our website.
It will be in the website, I believe. For example, the first page that we have, that's very informative. Like I don't know, whoever edits that in the website, there's like 4 or 5 things that are important. That's really helpful. But like, if you're looking for more things, whether it's art or cannabis, whatever, you have to go through that. So we'll see. Yeah. Let's go. I see Kristen, Robin, and Chris again.
I just wanted to add on real quick, because to Mark's point, it's sort of like an editing process in the sense that like the website is this great central resource. And the beautiful thing about this neighborhood is that there's always something going on and it's incredibly diverse. We have all of these cool things. And so I don't think there's actually gonna be a challenge for content in the sense that you use it as a newsletter. That's Twitter 110%. Like, it's just, there's a meeting tonight. That is a tweet. You don't have to have an entire website posted to a Twitter account. And you don't have to have like a picture of the room tape, the meeting room on Instagram or something. But these are all things that can be coordinated across all of these social media platforms, as long as the single message is still just, here's an event that's going on. And that's the beauty of not even just arts and institution stuff. It's everything in CB2, because there's so many great things, whether it's a restaurant or a play or just knowing that there's a meeting happening. So it would be useful for people who consume their news that way.
Got it. Thanks.
Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that I don't think that the CB2 website will be as trafficked as the social media will. I think there's an opportunity to reach people that you won't reach through the CB2 site. So I just think that it's just a way for us to be more open. It's not that we shouldn't do it on the CB2 website, but there are lots of people that'll never go there, but they might see it on Instagram and then show up at one of our meetings, which would be cool.
Robin?
Yeah, I mean, Kristen's right. I mean, a web page is static. You have to have somebody actually know to go there. Where these social media channels are, there are people who have their favorites, and each has their own sort of kind of quality to them. And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm sort of saying what Chris is saying in a different way. You're taking content that's already in existence, and it's called repurposing. And you make some edits to it. You put it into a soundbite. You slap up. We have probably plenty of pictures that could go with the, on Instagram, even if it's an announcement of a meeting. And it does take a little time, and it does take a little preparation. But there are free tools out there, free social media calendar tools. We're not looking to be the next, 100,000 follower. We're looking to have a very comfortable following, and over time, with a little effort and a little bit of attention, post a day here and there, we'll build up. We'll start following, the Soho Broadway bid and the Bleecker Street this, and then And after a while, it's a slow build, and we'll have all the people that we need to follow will follow us back. They'll tag us, they'll retweet, they'll repost our thing, whatever it is, whichever platform. And bit by bit, the word will get out there. And that's just where we are, people. I mean, it's social media world. This is where we are. And if we don't get on the boat in some way, we're just, we're stuck in the past. So I don't think this is a race to become the next TikTok, amazing. Here's how you can, color your hair using raspberries. We're just trying to get the word out there to a new group in a new way who digest the information their way, that don't go to websites. And have a little bit of a personality potentially, just like make people realize that it's an interest, that a community board is, has people on it that care. It's grassroots. This is how you can make a difference. It's not just announcements. It's going to probably, I hope, have a little bit of a soul in there that would make people interested to apply and make a difference if they didn't know they could. So that's my 2 cents. But
All right, so we can move on to the next item and this gave us a little sketch that I guess for us and also for the community board to build upon and tell us how to navigate this. And like I said, for me is about seeing the community seeing us, making those connections. Even just the last event that we went to, there were so many people I talked to them briefly, and I like having that documentation of that I met them, but now I want to follow up with them, and I can do it. And that there were a lot of people at that event that were fantastic people that I wanted to follow through. So the next item that we have is that letter. I sent the letter for the Metronome if we're ready to visit that and kind of close that loop. I sent the letter. How do we feel about moving on to the next subject? We're good? So Metronome. I sent the last draft that Robin helped us write, and the details that needed to close off on that, because we would like to have that be voted on February, and our next meeting is after the executive full board. So we would like to have it voted because they've been waiting for a while. Susan?
Yeah, I thought it looked great. I mean, it's just what it needs to do. We're just trying to encourage a conversation between, in support of this thing. We don't really have anything to connect us to, any institution, a reso or an agency or anything. I mean, I think what they were looking for us is some sort of, a little bit of buy-in on the concept to give them some street cred to get a conversation going. And I think that letter totally accomplishes that.
Great. There's the letter. Oh, I love Mark. Thank you, Mark. Don't leave. So Carter, Carter, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for sending the letter. I had a chance to look at it. I'm not so sure if we want to say that we actually support the actual work. Even if we do, what we want to have happen is the dialogue. And I think that might be the sticking point, perhaps, with the building owner. We don't want to further polarize the situation. We want the conversation to happen, and that's what we heard from Kristen and Andrew was not happening. I don't know what other people think about that, but there's clearly something we don't know, and the conversations are not occurring. And what we want to foster is the idea that they sit down and talk about it. So I'd be a little careful of exacerbating whatever the situation is currently.
Okay. Susan?
Oh, no, I didn't have, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't take my hand down. Sorry,
Raymond?
sorry, apologies.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to say in some form that we are, in theory, supportive of what they want. I mean, if we weren't supportive, I mean, I think it's weird that we don't take some sort of position based on all the information they gave us. So maybe we need to put something like the initial creative concepts, you know, so it's clear that, you know, what they showed us is something that we are supportive of. I mean, that's why we're here, where we examined what, you know, they have a track record. They gave us a lot of stuff to look at. I think we're all on board that this, I don't know why we can't say based on what's publicly out there, that we have, based on what they showed us and what their plan is at this stage, we support their creative concept, their initial concept, and hope that they can move it further. Because I think at the end of the day, they will need to come back, or should come back to us when if hopefully they do move forward and start making their changes. We'll have to then review it again. So I don't know why we can't say something supportive of their creative concept. Maybe it has to be a little bit more vague, but I don't have a problem.
Well, I think like when the many months that we talked about in this group is that we were going to support them as the engagement, because their proposed ideas, actually the committee, not everybody loved it. And we know that we can't force the owners to meet, and all we can say is, you know, as community board members, that we're just supporting in hopes that they will have engagement to talk about this. Not everybody loved the idea, and I think that the architects did not have all the information, not that they need to give it to us, but you know, cost of what all the stuff is, you know, those are real issues. So I think maybe we don't, and I like I said, not everybody in the community loved ideas. It was more about, obviously we're supporting the spirit of engagement. That's really what we're doing. So,
well, maybe it's something like, you know, I want them to, I feel like we have to support their exploration of their concept further or something.
yeah.
I just feel like we have to say, I don't know, I just feel like we have to say that we support, I mean, they're not trying to sell sneakers. They're trying to support some artwork. We're an arts committee. We're supportive of their efforts to create and improve their art. So I don't know how else you can say that. We can all, you know, I know this thing opened in Boston recently that, you know, people don't like the Martin Luther King statue. A lot of people are, but you know, I think in concept, people supported the art as, you know, being created. So I'm feeling like I'm trying to say this in I think I'm spinning my wheels here, but I think we're supportive of their efforts as artists and to find ways to, you know, continue on with their efforts to create this artwork, because we are an arts committee supporting art. And even if, you know, I don't know what it's going to end up looking like, but at this stage, I'm in support of them making their art and then coming back and showing us what they have and then weighing in further. But I don't know how else you say that, but that's how I feel. I mean, I'll still vote for this, however it comes out, but that's how I feel about it.
Carter?
Yeah, I was going to say that this was a commission piece that they did. They were paid for it, and they no longer have a role in it anymore as the artists. And if I remember correctly, they came back to us and said, hey, can you help us have this discussion with the building owner? And that's what we're supporting. The art itself is, they don't have I'm from talking to Kristen, they don't have any more control over it, I don't think, from that original contract. And while it is art, it's also public commission art. And so what we're trying to do is to keep the conversation going. They don't have to come to us for anything, I believe, on this. I don't think it's a landmarked area or anything. So we don't really have a role in it except to foster the conversation. And there's something, you know, there's a reason it's not happening. And so what we want to do is push that along to happen without inflaming a situation, if there is one. I don't know what it is. It's just odd that that they can't get a call back. And I know it's private property, so they have every right to do that as well. So
Yeah, Rocio had a great point, and it's like we can't force you know,
Right.
owners. And I think and I also believe that when we went around it, it's like we're supporting the engagement and you know, their exploration, because we don't know how it's going to be. Kristen?
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, I agree with Robin that we are an arts committee and that there are artists that are just trying to update their work for it to be relevant and resonant to the community. And so maybe it's that we appreciate their efforts to update their work so that the community can feel engaged with the work or whatever. Like, I mean, maybe that's the frame. So it's not like we're taking a position around the art. We're acknowledging what art does in the community and asking the landlord to step in and be supportive of that dialogue.
Stacy, do you have any suggestion?
I sort of agree that we shouldn't take a position on the art for a variety of reasons. But I wonder if, I mean, my guess is that the real estate company doesn't want to pay for it, and that's probably why they're not getting back to them, right? So I think it's great to encourage that dialogue, but my guess is it might just be something as simple as that.
Yeah, and it's also as complex as they not knowing what the cost of all that stuff is, because we're talking about
that's
the
true.
lights and, you know, the
Right.
Wi-Fi, you know, that's a heavy duty thing, actually.
Right.
And then very quickly escalates, like people across there don't want to have a light, however they want to present it. So I'll be like super neutral about that, and we should just move on, because like this has been here before me.
Well, maybe it's some, I mean, yeah, because Carter brought this to my attention like 5 years ago at this point. But I mean, I mean, so I'm thinking like, if we're getting very semantic here, but I mean, in the spirit of what Kristen was saying, maybe it's like, you know, CB2 supports the artist's efforts to reimagine the iteration of their previous work.
Okay,
That's good. Yeah.
all right, let's go with that.
Okay, so it's CB2 supports the artist's efforts to reimagine a new iteration of their previous work, something like that. Somebody can maybe make it sound a little better, but.
Sounds good to me, Robin. You
I
always
just feel
come
like
up
there
with
needs to be something that shows that, you know, we're, you know, otherwise, again, they could just be painting, I don't know.
But
something-
you know, Robin, but I feel like because it's gone through the community so long, and you're writing a letter that is very thoughtful, that is already our effort. It's not like and it will have the art, you know, letterhead or whatever, and that is it. And that's all it should be in some ways.
Right. Well, anyway, that's
so-
my, I don't know, we're not supposed to be friendly. That's my amendment. I don't know if anybody did somebody type it or fix it? Or not. I support the letter, however you send it.
Yeah. We talked.
I think I've got what you said, so I can help Ivy finalize if that would work.
Yeah, I just said, you know, if nobody objects. I mean, I'm just taking what Kristen said, and what I think I'm hearing everybody generally sort of saying. They don't want to say we're supporting the art itself, but we're supporting their efforts. So I'm saying supports the delete creative concepts of, and just say supports the artist's efforts to reimagine a new iteration of their previous work.
Okay.
Whatever that is, we don't know what it looks like, but
We're close. We're very close. I think we're already in the final line in that, you know. I
yeah, so
wanna close that
that
5-year
would be
loop.
my change.
So Mark, I'll follow up with that, and you know, I'll follow up with like who we should CC in leadership. So the next thing we wanted to talk about, which was the capital and budget priorities for the arts institutions. I talked to Mark a little bit about that, whether next time he can find us somebody that can do a little teaching and inform us better or how to help, like, so that I know, and then could put it back into the community. So that's the only thing to touch upon that. Then the other item is the Dia Earth Room has reopened, and Stacy has been in touch with them. Stacy, do you want to talk a little
Yep.
bit about that?
So I spoke with the deputy director and they did a soft launch reopening a few weeks ago. So they're both open now. After the renovations, they'll be open year round as opposed to closing in the summer. She was lovely and really helpful. I just explained that we wanted to be of any help that we could be. And I think I forward you all the invitation that she sent us to the opening tomorrow night. If anybody's free to go to that, I would make sure to introduce yourself to her. And she said that they would come and present or speak to us at the next meeting in February.
So exciting.
Yeah. So,
Really
and she
nice.
was great. She was great.
The back picture that I have is another Earth room, but that was the first Earth room in Germany.
I recognized it.
Robin? Thank you, Stacy, so much.
That was a late hand raise for the last topic that
Okay.
about the budget. So I'll hold until other people talk on this topic.
I want to go tomorrow, but Mark Levine is also giving his state of address tomorrow, so it's going to be tough. But I hope many of you can go. It's one of my favorite pieces. And lastly, like we've been working on that Google Doc of the different institutions that, if you guys can profile it, add it, and invite people that you want. I have a goal to talk to the Museum of Chinese American. And it's a complicated one because I think I may ask Susanna Aaron if she would be interested to meet with me as well about setting up a conversation, because right now the community is having a very divided opinion about the museum, and it starts from having access to the museum, to the jail and the assumed money that's been given to them, and also just that I don't know if they ever have come to the community board to touch bases, Robin. So it's a lot of points I would like to touch upon. Have they ever been visiting us?
Yeah, so they came, we had a museum evening once that during the pandemic, they were part of that. I'm pretty sure that's when they came, and the woman, her name's escaping me, but the lady who runs it, she has 3 names. She was one of the people I think on our museum call. Feels like 3 lifetimes ago. So I don't think they came individually, to present to us. But they were here in our museum night, or it was a nonprofit night or something when people were scared about closing and how other local institutions were handling, staying open and stuff. I wonder if we recorded that, but there might be a recording of it. And that doesn't really answer your question, but
that would have
she
been
knows who we
our
are. She knows who we are.
Yeah, so I don't know how the group feels about, is like this invite could be something as banal as come and talk to us and etc. And it could be something that goes into the spectrum that is very complicated for the community as well. And how we feel about.
Right. Well, I think one is obviously going to be very political and inflammatory. If we're just asking, if it's one thing about having her come and describing her programming, and it's just a programming thing, now that we're out of the pandemic and they're opening, but that could also still invite, if there's a lot of people who are against the museum, that can invite people, even though she might just want to talk about what's up, the public might use that as an opportunity to be angry. So I'm not sure.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that we have to prepare if we do an invite that the community is going to show up and could very quickly have that conversation. And it's fine to have those conversations. I felt like our last meeting as human service was great. We had the door come in, and Susanna prompted about having him talk about some of the scandalous things that happened financially. So they knew that they were going to talk about that. So I think, yeah, by the sheer fact that we invite them, the community may show up, and we should talk about what the fears are. And
I don't think they ever opened up back to regular hours, right?
exactly.
Yeah, I
You know,
think
the
they're only-
website, the website says they're open, but I live around here and it seems like they moved out.
I think they're only open on Saturdays.
I
So,
see protesters on the weekends,
mhm.
but I also have gotten to the point that there's so much security that it doesn't seem as open. So it's kind of confusing, but when you go to the website, it's open every day. They also have an archive space that people are supposed to access, but nobody's there.
Hmm.
And that's an interesting thing that we would like to find out, whether this is, you know, they updated this. Is on Howard. It's a whole area. It's beautiful. And it seems like its purpose is archiving stories of Chinatown.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to know what that is and whether that was part of their expansion.
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to fill out that? So that's the goal. Anything else? You know, when I was doing the little Instagram, there is like a climate museum that's a pop-up that's on Worcester Street. That's very interactive with the community. I thought that was very interesting to have a pop-up, and but yes, but yet is very engaging with children and schools. And I don't, you know, I mean, in a bigger bandwidth, I would want to know, like, why is it just a pop-up? You know, this is such an important topic, and it seems like they're engaging a lot of young students. So that was interesting. Other than that, you know, if you feel there's other organizations we can have. I mean, right now.
Whatever happened with Worcester, they couldn't show up, the Worcester group?
Yeah, they're gonna try to find another date.
Okay, yeah, because we haven't heard from them in a while and curious, but
Well, maybe we should go around really quickly, like who would be the organization that you find, like, to me, the MOCA is super complicated, not just because of my heritage. I just feel like, wow, you know, like we have a prison come in and we're just stepping around it. I'm like, you know what, let's just like talk about it, because the division about who's informed escapes us. So I would like to do that. Rocio?
Yeah, I was thinking that I think it's time for NYU to give us a tour of the building that we was presented to us many times over all the years. Building that they just finished building, I think it's mostly finished. Mercer and Bleecker Street. I see students going in and out, and I think it would be a privilege if we were able to just go there to see the arts, the places that they designated for art, auditoriums, and to take a tour. It would be something that the committee would like to do. Do you think this is something that can be done or should be done?
I think it's a yes, like in bold. I'm sure David Gruber will want to partner in that, because, you know, yeah, I seen it. It's cleaned up now. It looks like very functioning. Susan Gammy, who's your wish list? Thank you, Rocio. We will work on that. Susan?
Oh, I'd like to give it a little bit more thought, honestly, Ivy. So
Okay.
I'll come back to that. I'm going to add a few things to the Google Doc.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Stacy?
Yeah, I think I'd have to think about it. I mean, as I mentioned before, I'm happy to get the drawing center people to come in and talk to us. I don't know that there's anything really happening that is that's happening over there that is, you know, that's different. I'd have to sort of think about what is changing with some of these organizations that, you know, we might need an update on.
Okay. And like I said, not to get back to the mocha thing, but if you guys can help me like see another bird's eye view of like what could be issues that can come up with just that invite. We should profile it a little bit better before we send out and have like chaos. Carter or Chris? Or Jonathan?
Those sound like good ideas. I think Mocha is a little challenging,
Super.
but
You know what might be interesting would be to get some of the, and I don't even know who it is, we'd have to do some research, but whoever is sort of uniting all the new galleries in Tribeca and that have opened up, someone, they put out that gallery map. So there must be some sort of group organization who is doing something with that. I mean, that might be something that would be interesting to learn about. And I can look into that.
Thank you.
But they're doing, as probably everyone on this call knows, some really interesting things in terms of coordinating on having openings on the same night, staying open later, all sorts of different things like that. So that, might be something, if we can figure out who's coordinating all of that, it might be an interesting thing.
Darlene says galleries in Tribeca are in Tribeca. The CB2, CB1.
Oh, we're not. Oh, that's true. They're not. They're too far south for us.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'd have to look into it. Is this, are we doing end at Canal?
Yeah, we end in Canal. And then don't forget, we have that kind of triage thing with the museums, right? Which is Jane, it was Whitney, they came and presented it once, but they have several museums together kind of effort.
I think Robin knows who's behind this, but there's a larger crawl being organized to invite the community to visit different arts organizations in our district. Robin, do you know who's in charge of that? Who's organizing that?
I'm not sure I know. Is it the real estate lady in Soho, the Danielle lady? That's the only other person I know of who might.
I'll find out. I heard about it. I haven't gone to the meeting. Randy from Indie Space went on behalf of the West Village Rehearsal Co-op. So I'll find out the name of it, but it seems like that would be a good group to come talk to us because we can also help them connect to organizations they might not know about and we can see who they're already talking to. But the goal is for people who weren't around, Robin organized a crawl a while ago that went to a bunch of different theaters. So it was kind of a walking tour. And you can visit the different organizations and then each organization could talk about what they do. And it was just a way to raise the profile of the arts in our community.
That would be great. Oh my God.
Yeah, I made a little video, send it to you guys. So you can just get a taste of what it was.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, sort of in that vein, I mean, I think open culture is going to be back, right? Was that a successful project? So I'm wondering if I don't know who would come to us to describe what streets of ours are going to be considered open streets and how people are open culture and how you apply to it. What?
How about the Hudson Square bid to talk to the different bids? Because they have been some of the ones that have been organizing the activity on the streets with the organizations applying to them.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Maybe get Hudson Square bid in just ahead of open culture starting in a few months, just to sort of get a sense of what their application process is, what streets they're going to be running, how it went last year. Doesn't have to be long, just a 15-minute check-in.
Carter? Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, I just for the open streets, I think they're all under one program now. I don't think they're separate anymore. So that was just one thing, but I think that what Robin was saying is having an update though that's a good idea. Also, I thought, I was just thinking we did Robin, you did a great meeting with Valerie on the museums with the reopening working group during COVID. Maybe we should revisit with all the museums to understand what challenges they might be having now, or if things are all back up to speed, what the visitation, just to help them get the word out on what's going on and so that we can better understand any challenges that they might be having. I remember with the Whitney, they talked about the changing demographic of their visitors, where it became much more city residents, whereas in the past it had been a lot more tourists. I'm not sure if that's super helpful, but it helps understand if any of them are having any specific problems or if they're taking a new track on things. But I found that meeting to be really interesting, and you two did a great job on doing it. So that might be something. I don't know what you think, Robin, but that might be
Yeah, I think I'm not as familiar with the museum world as I would like to be, so I'm always happy to hear from them. And I think that might have been the meeting where Mocha came. I feel like that was probably, because that sounds familiar to me now, that it was them, and it was smaller galleries. It was Whitney. It was like little places. I wasn't in maybe even the Fire Museum showed up. It was like, we haven't heard from them in a while. We had heard from the new executive director. I think she had just started. So
Right.
I'd be interested in hearing from her again, how things are going there. So I think a museum night would be good.
Yeah, so like just even talking about the Mocha, like their schedule doesn't match their website, and visually does not match like it's open. So every month it's just less, because between the protesters and the boxes going on, I don't know if they're moving to it. So it's just like even that is confusing. Rocio, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Just a quick question, changing a little bit, but you just brought up Mocha, and that was my question. Do you know do you happen to know what the stand is for, what did Mocha decide on the jail that would be built? Did they take a position on that? And I heard that they were given a lot of money so that they would shut up and not say anything. Is this true? Is this, do you know anything about this?
I read in the newspapers, in some newspaper, like really local, hyper local. I've spoken to the protesters, and I think that's the reason we should invite them, because as for them to use a community board to message what their version is important, versus like we're just talking around it. I don't know for sure. It is a huge amount of money. I think it was about $30 million. And so what does that mean? So yeah, it's a hot topic. The community on the ground is extremely angry. So this will be an opportunity to open up that conversation instead of silent. I mean, I think the community is very good about being very separate, of like not really talking. This will be just, I think it is the reason we have a community board, is so that we have a space where actually that is spoken. So I don't know for real, and that's part of the reason I would like them to come. In the chat, let me really quickly just read out. Pete Davis has said there's a loose group of small galleries and arts organization called Soho Arts Network. That might be the one that we were referring to. And Darlene said that we lost the Children's Museum during COVID. Oh, and then Darlene says the Fire Museum is located directly across the Disney construction until it's finished.
I thought the Children's Museum came to our board for Halloween, to be able to close the street to have a Halloween fair.
Well, we should invite them over. I used to walk by there all the time when my kids went to soccer, but I have no.
The other comment I have to say, please excuse me, I have to leave the meeting. I hope I'm not leaving at an awkward moment.
No, thank you so much. Got to, and
So
actually we're gonna wrap it up.
Is the meeting almost over?
Yeah, it's almost over. The last thing I just wanted to put in preview, and maybe Carter knows about. I had heard the CB2 has a street fair. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how do we participate, if somebody can fill me in that?
We don't participate in any aspect. I'm on the committee, by the way.
Okay.
So we don't do anything. All we do is lend money to the fair, and we have a company Clearview, I think it's called. I'm not sure. I don't remember the name right now. But anyway, they're the ones that organize and does everything. They do everything, and all we do is get a part of the money that's raised. So Clearview or Mardi Gras, one of those two companies, are the ones that sell the spots on the street for
Oh, it's
merchants
one
to
like
come,
that.
merchants to come and sell their goods, whatever they
Oh,
make. And
okay.
then they pay, and the sponsor with the presenter will give us back some of the money that was paid. They have to pay the city for the fee for the sanitation department to clean the streets and do all that, and we get part of the money that goes to towards our budget for the expenses we have in the offices, such as the machines, the mail, mailing out all the envelopes and postage and all that, and paper and whatever the office needs. That money usually goes to that. So we've had this
Well-
fair for many years. Before I came on the board, which was 22 years ago, we've already had the fair. So
Okay.
every year we've had the fair, except for, I guess, a couple of years during COVID.
Thank you
But
for letting me
we
know.
don't do anything. We just got what I call free money.
Okay, thank you so much.
And,
Yeah,
and
for-
Ivy, I think you should raise that at exec, because if you're interested and if our new district manager, we should have a table at that, and that's a great opportunity to do outreach at the event, as most, many of the groups that have them have a table. And so I know that you've done tables at some of the events in our
Health fair.
area,
Yeah.
right, with the health fair. So that's a great idea as far as engaging with people. The
When is
difficult
this?
part is finding people who want to do it. I don't know the exact date. I think it's in in the late spring, maybe. But
We just
but
reviewed.
you should bring
we
that
just-
up, so that, because we've asked Mark to get involved on a number of things with the coordinator. So that's something that you should raise as well, so that now that Mark is, well, I don't know if he's settling in, but a lot of things are being thrown at him. But this is certainly,
Wow.
one
yeah,
thing that, that
Okay.
So Ivy, one of the things we heard this application this month,
Mhm.
and the problem that we faced was the fact that they want to do it on Broadway. And our committee has taken a position that, I'm not speaking for the whole committee, but this is what's been happening, that we don't really approve of fairs that are on the major thoroughways, such as Broadway, and that's where they want to do it. And so we cannot take a position, because it is our fair. We cannot have a resolution. We just state that there is a fair, and we don't say that we are in favor, we don't take a position. But what we discussed, the fact that it should be brought back to the applicant, we should request, and this was spoken about at the full board, that they change the venue from Broadway to another street. And it was discussed that perhaps the person that can do that is the new district manager, that he should be able to approach the sponsor, or the that's not the sponsor, it's not the right word, I can't remember right now, to perhaps change the street. And we still have time for that. So that's all up in the air.
That's so ironic, right? To be the people that give permits, and then all of a sudden we don't have a say. So interesting. All right. Thank you so much. That thing, even though it's been there 22 years, I lived in a neighborhood. I've never really been in the fair.
Because you
All
wouldn't
right.
know that you wouldn't know that it's a CB2 fair. It's just a fair, another fair.
Exactly. So that's actually very interesting that you said that, because it's almost like a San Gennaro in some ways, you're saying, and then the benefit goes to, but that's kind of crazy that we don't have a participation in it, but that's a lot of work.
Because we have a conflict. It's a conflict of interest.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody. See you next month. We ended up having a very robust discussion. Thank you so
Do we
much.
have a date next month or not yet? Because
We-
the meetings have
do.
been shifting, so I'm sorry, I've missed when we're
It's
meeting.
February 23rd.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And
Bye.
Kristen, congratulations. It was really, really fun. And to see, people that have been working on it, like David, Robin, and Federica, they were just smiling. They were just so happy. It was just so great.
Yeah, we're really excited, and I think it'll be meaningful for the artists in the neighborhood, and we're extremely grateful for everything that the community board did to bring it to fruition, because it was not an easy process. But we're happy that we got there now.
But it was just so fun to see everybody connect, and it's one of those projects that you don't know is going to happen, and when it happens, you're like that possibility being materialized was really great.
Yeah,
So
not,
thank
Chris,
you.
I'm sure you don't plan on doing this anytime soon, but I imagine that the next time, at least now you know like what not to do or what works and what doesn't. Right? The first time's always the hardest, so.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it's a lot of investment.
Because I'm
Thank you
hoping
so
this
much.
turned out to be a template of some kinds, that
Yeah,
people can
that's what
replicate.
we hope. Like, we're just trying to share it with as many people as possible.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So you took it on the chin and, helping other people not have to go through that.
Here for other people, exactly. Cool.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
I-
Bye-bye. Thank you again.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Thanks, Ivy. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. And wait till everybody leaves before I close it up. Bye, Carter.